when I saw the opportunity, I jumped into it. I had registered for the program and everything before I told another soul. I don't think there was resistance ever,
Mm-hmm.
but there was always a question, how is this going to work? If something's going to pull me down or if it's going to make me doubt something, I will not pay attention to it. Because I'd always seen myself as a career person and I never went that way. Uh, After years, I began to sort of, feel that, what have I done in life? You're always telling yourself, if I fail, there are so many people looking at me. What are they going to say? You're satisfied that whatever you're doing is fine. That's success to me. When you say that it's okay, what's the worst that can possibly happen? That's when you can take a step forward. And every step taken forward is a way to the next step.
Hi, Kavita, and welcome to the About Her Show, a show where we get trailblazing women to share the story of their lives with us. They could be trailblazing in many ways. And the point is that when they share their stories, not only do they get a platform to talk about themselves, to showcase themselves, but they also help us inspire other women. Women who are dealing with everyday struggles, challenges, which do not allow them to pursue their dreams, aspirations, or whatever they want to do in life. And along with women, we also get men on the show because we believe that for a truly gender inclusive world, men and women need to be allies in this journey. Now, as far as you are concerned, you are no stranger to me. I've known you for so many years. I have known how you have, perfected the art of whatever you do in life, whether you've been the perfect wife, the mother, the daughter-in-law, friend. I mean, you're always there rising up to the occasion. So it may not be perfect in the way you may think, but what I'm trying to say is that you are there when people want you in whichever role or capacity, which to my mind is perfection, rising up to the occasion and being there for people. So I had seen you, play these roles for a number of years when one day you decided to do something with your life in terms of pursuing a dream, an ambition which you had as a young girl. You wanted to become financially independent, self-sufficient, but then life took its own course, and that is when you decided that you wanted to go back to academics. And believe me, I've done the same thing. Going back to studying after a long gap is not easy. Forget everything else, the very fact that you have to be with students, with children, so to say, who are much younger, it's not easy, but you did it. So, that I think is something which gives you every reason to be proud of what you've done and every reason to feel that you can be a source of inspiration. So, without further ado, a very, very warm welcome to you once again, and let's get started.
Thank you very much. That's a whole lot of wonderful things you said. Set the right tone, by the way. So it's okay. Thank you very much for having me here. And I have learned to say that I don't know what value I'll add because I have realized that, like I have taken in from different people in my life, I'm sure we all have something that we can offer. And I do hope that whatever somebody can pick is great. Looking
More than
forward
that.
to this conversation with you.
Thank you. So, let's get started with the first question. Now, as I mentioned, you spent over 25 years in roles that society defines for women, wife, mother, daughter in law, and all of that. So, looking back, when you were leading your life in that way, did you feel content in those years? Or was there a quiet voice inside you that kept asking you for more?
Um, so yeah, let's put it this way. I never thought I would be just a homemaker and a mom. I always looked at myself as somebody who would step out into the career world.
Mhm.
But like you said, sometimes life happens, and this is what happened. And I think the thing I had was I did everything in a very, in a manner which probably said professionalism. Uh, and it was really funny that even when I would go to buy groceries, I would have some people approach me and say, "Where do you work?" And I'm picking groceries. So I would wonder what kind of a weird question is this at a grocery store? But I don't know. It was something about the way I did things, I guess, or how my mind operated. Uh, so I was never discontent. I just performed in a different manner.
Mm-hmm.
And but somewhere inside of me, I knew that I would want to one day step out of the house. And I always sort of prepared for when will that be the right time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but it didn't. I mean, I wasn't discontent, but I was sure that there was a future I was looking at.
Right. So, yeah, so another way of putting it, that not discontentment because you were happy playing the roles which you were to play at that point, but then there was something inside you which told you, which said to you that you want to do something more in life than just being, playing the roles which society had laid out for you. All right.
100%.
So tell me, can you take us back to that exact moment or that phase of your life when you realized that I want something for myself now? I mean, what triggered it? You had it in you for a very long time, but when and why did you take that plunge? What made you take it?
Mm, the way okay, so when my children were growing up, the second son, when he went to school, I was very fascinated by what school did to him.
Okay.
And he studied at a Montessori school called the Magic Years. It's a beautiful place.
Mm-hmm.
So I sort of went to the principal and I said, "What do you do here with the children? Because it's beautiful and I want to sort of be a part of the system."
Mm.
So I that's where I took up the Montessori course and I did it. And then I worked at another Montessori organization called the RD School.
Okay.
I think it's that, going back out of your home zone and working in a space outside. I sort of did my training there
Mm.
and worked from there, but I worked at Magic Years as well. And when I worked and got that, you know, response from the outside world, like I looked at it, that, I had somewhere told myself, I can never go back to work
Mm-hmm.
after that many years of being a homebody. I said, I don't know what's happening outside. The world is changing rapidly. I'll never be able to do anything. So
Mm-hmm.
now I just have to be content at home. But when I worked in that space and I I think I met with positive responses in a huge manner. I think somewhere that was my confidence booster. And I thought to myself that why not? I mean, what is the worst that can happen? So I think that's where it finally actually sprouted again, that desire to get out of the house and do something. And this is still many, many years ago. So it's taken years after even that
Yeah.
moment to get to where I have to
When
now.
you have made a choice in life, we would try to stick to that decision,
Hmm.
take that particular choice to a logical conclusion, and then move ahead. But the
Yeah,
fact is that you kept that fire burning inside you.
I
You did
did.
not let it fade away,
I did.
because I think for many people, for many women, it does happen that eventually you feel that, okay, fine, let it be. I couldn't do it. I can't do it. Now I can't do it. But you did not let that happen. And that is what is so, so inspirational.
I was also surrounded by people like you around.
Well,
That
yes.
helped.
You know,
So many. I would be inspired by meeting, and I think thanks to you, I met a lot of people who were doing things differently, later stages in life. It sort of keeps that, and when you have that fire in you, I think those stories work in your favor. So
yes,
I think all in all, I was in a good place.
absolutely. And you probably met those people because you had to do it. Your life
Yeah.
was taking
Yep.
you in that direction.
Yep. Maybe.
Tell me, when women start or think of doing something, where they choose themselves rather than the family or rather than the roles that they're supposed to be playing. So they struggle with guilt, right? And because they feel that, okay, I'm doing this now, I'm doing something which is not for the family, it is for myself. So if you also, had to deal with this kind of an emotional conflict, then how did you navigate that?
So it probably had two stages. The
Okay.
first one where I thought, nothing in this role can change while I pick on another role. So I actually went quite mad, waking up earlier, sleeping later, finishing what I was supposed to do or what I had been doing all these years,
Hmm.
and then finding moments like, literally picking minutes that if, oh, right now I have 15 minutes, let's quickly read up on this stuff. Do that. And I would still continue to do everything that I was doing or conducting at home the way I was for so many years.
Yeah.
And then somewhere I realized this is madness. I cannot sustain this. It is not possible. So something has to give.
Hmm.
So first it was my own training. I had to relax my mind and say, it's okay. That I think that mantra is still my mantra, because it irks me to see something not completed, not done.
Hmm.
But I've learned to tell myself it's okay and it's fine. It'll happen, not today, tomorrow it'll happen, but it doesn't have to happen right now. So prioritizing what needs to get done for whichever reason. I mean, earlier it was only the home has to function perfectly, so priority was always home.
Hmm.
Now because I had taken on this and I said that I need to do it and I need to finish it. If I've taken up something, that's the one thing that I have. If I take up something, I have to take it to conclusion. I cannot leave things midway.
We know that.
Yeah. So I think then this it's okay started working, and that's when the balance happened.
Right.
So
But
it's
that's,
working.
I think forget anybody else. It's us women, because we
Yeah,
feel
we
that everything has to be perfect. Everything
correct.
else has to be done first before we start doing something for ourselves. This is what creates a conflict. Nobody's
Correct.
saying anything to us. I mean, we haven't even approached anybody. It's just within us that we struggle with, this kind of a thing. So I think first we need to work on ourselves before we, have to, or before we actually approach anybody else. So you put it across very realistically.
It's
Okay.
an internal battle always.
It is. It is. I agree. So then you decided to return to the classroom after 25 years, right? So tell me, what was it actually like to sit in a classroom again after such a long gap, emotionally, intellectually, and socially?
I actually loved it. I loved every. So I had two stints. The first one when I did my Montessori training,
Yeah.
and that was more realistic because the others were my age group.
Okay.
Uh, so, or maybe 5-10 years here and there. I was also much younger, so there couldn't have been too many very much younger than me kind of people, but it was a more sort of homogeneous kind of group.
Okay.
uh, 20 years hence, when I've taken up my master's program, and I'm sitting in a classroom of newly minted graduates, people who've just come out of school and college, and are now doing their master's program. And here I am doing my master's after 20 years of
Right.
finishing school. So that was very, actually, it was very nice because I just got that very positive vibe from everyone who look at say, oh my God, you're doing it now, whatever for, why? It was exciting. It was fun to talk to people and tell them and, share that excitement that I had about doing, studying again.
Mm-hmm.
My children helped. They were like so fascinated. Mom, you're going to study? Mom, will you remember? And they were out there helping me, which was beautiful. I mean, it was like tables turning. And I'm asking them, okay, how do I study this? What do I do about, subjects which I'd never done before?
Hmm.
It was fun to, talk to them at their level, and fun getting help and tips from them on how I should study. I would love the way they would come and tell me, Acha, isko na study it like this, mom. I'll tell you from experience. I was like, yes,
Right,
sure.
right.
So
So,
it was fun.
so
So
you,
socially and emotionally, it was lovely. Intellectually, it was nice, but it took a while to, especially memory, to study like a student, put back answers on a paper. Life begins to teach you differently. So, the approach of writing a paper and question to answer and stuff like that is a little, different. But I think so, it was good. That
yeah.
was a little challenging in the beginning, but by and by it got easier, and one was able to go back to school and do it the way it was required to be done. Yeah, but it was fun.
So I can
Whole
totally
journey.
relate to this because I've done this myself. So, again, it is more in our heads than anywhere else. Because we have created those barriers, we feel hesitant because obviously going back to something like this after such a long gap is not easy. So you've got to
Yeah.
prepare yourself. But the thing is that once you are prepared and once you take it in your stride, I think everything else just falls into place. Everybody else is just there to support you. I mean, they
True
just
that.
feel, especially children, I totally agree, they are the ones,
Yeah.
I think they're very proud of the fact that, you're doing something different, not
Correct.
something that they've seen you doing, you do all their lives.
True.
Okay. So tell me, when you decided to take this plunge, did you ever question, whether you were too late or too old to start again? And if you had those doubts, like you said, how did you push back? Of course, your children helped, and socially also, I think your friends helped. But you
Hmm.
yourself, how did you push back those doubts? How did you take that first step?
So I never felt that it was too late to start
Wonderful.
from the word go. In fact, when I saw the opportunity, I jumped into it. I had registered for the program and everything before I told another soul,
Okay.
not even my husband. He came back home from work and I announced I've joined the course. So he
What?
was like pretty shocked, but I was from the word go. I just looked at it and it was like a dream come true that I'm going to be able to do a program that I've always wanted to be a part of.
Hmm.
So no doubts in my head from the word go. It was just the only doubt I had is how am I going to execute this?
Hmm.
But other than that, yeah, I was just very excited to be part of this.
Lovely. Okay, so now comes the role of the family. Because obviously, you're part of a family, you have responsibilities, people are used to seeing you in a particular role, doing things in a particular way. And now you
Hmm.
decide to fit in something which has nothing to do with them in that sense. It is about you and your aspirations. So
Hmm.
tell me, how did your family respond to your decision to study again? And was there any resistance? And if at all, how did you deal with it?
Hmm. Uh, no, I don't think there was resistance ever,
Mm-hmm.
but there was always a question, how is this going to work? I mean, I think that was an unspoken, unsaid kind of question. So, but I think I was like, I think from the beginning, I sort of made it very clear that if I've started this, I'm going to complete it.
Mm.
So, whether you help me do it or don't help me do it is about to happen. So I don't think I will. I think I just closed myself to any input. I was very focused on how and why I want to do it. So in that sense, sometimes I feel I have a man's head
Mm.
because I can box it out and say, oh, this is happening right now. I don't want to look at the other side. If something's going to pull me down or if it's going to make me doubt something, I will not pay attention to it. So that helped. So, yeah.
So we can always learn from men, right?
Yep, of course. Of
Right.
course.
They can do it.
We don't, yeah, we seldom give them the credit, but they actually, we can always vent out. They don't even vent out, but
Yes.
they do so much more, right? Without flashing it. So
And
it's
I
okay.
think the ability to box out things and focus on one thing at a
Yeah,
time, that I
absolutely.
think is something which they do, and there is no harm in learning and applying it to our lives.
They do, but they can, but that's another story.
Yeah, that's another story. Yes, yes. So tell me, you decided to pursue your master's and then you went on to complete it despite whatever hurdles you faced. So tell me, what did completing this master's degree give beyond a qualification? I mean, how did it, say, reshape your sense of identity?
That's a big one
Hmm.
because I think the first thing that it got back was my confidence.
Right.
Uh, I think or maybe it was me again. It's a lot of you yourself because I'd always seen myself as a career person, and I never went that way. Uh, After years, I began to sort of feel that what have I done in life, and you sort of go into a shell withdraw, don't want to talk to people, just don't want to get out there because there is nothing that you have to offer except saying that I'm a housewife, I look after my children. I'm like, how, glamorous can you make that? So I sort of retreated a lot. But so that is the biggest thing that happened. I sort of felt proud of myself again. Uh, and that was a big thing. I think one of the biggest that
That
I've
is
got.
huge because obviously now your identity is more than being just a housewife, a mother, daughter, daughter-in-law. You have something else. And that
Yeah.
I think, I mean, this can do a lot to your self-esteem, to your motivation, to your morale, because you realize that I can do it. And if I can do this, I can do probably anything.
A
And
lot more.
that I think is like such a big
Absolutely.
morale booster because you suddenly, it's as though the world has opened up for you.
Hmm.
You
True that.
had kind of shut yourself up in a room, shut yourself in a space where you
Totally.
felt that you can't do anything. You can do everything.
Hmm.
That I think
You can.
is like huge. Okay.
Yeah, that's huge.
So then now you decided to do this for yourself, but you got into a space where you are guiding, motivating others. So
Hmm.
tell me, at what point did this personal transformation start evolving into a desire to guide and motivate others?
Um, I think so it's like me growing out of myself, and I feel that space is sort of very open
Mm,
out there.
mm,
Um, we've sort of our family structures have dissolved in a lot of ways.
mhm.
Uh, People are alone, and I think that kind of support, guidance, uh, and just sometimes just being available to another person is very, very important and is required.
Right.
So I have felt that more and more as I've been in this space, and especially with youngsters, it's endearing to see what they can get out of this. So that's the reason I just chose this space. It's something which is close to my heart. Always been. I like to talk to people. I am a very one-on-one kind of an individual. I'm not a very masses people. So I enjoy this space. I like talking to people and figuring it out with them. It's a nice space to be
It is, and again, it is, I think, in your nature, because
in.
you are there and, someone who can listen to someone. I mean,
Hmm.
I want to pour my heart, but who's listening?
Hmm.
The kind of world that we are in today, people don't have the time for anything. Now, you make time for people to come and
Hmm.
speak to you. And, sometimes listening is the biggest thing that you can do. You may
Absolutely.
not offer any solution, but just the fact that somebody can vent out, somebody can talk to you about what they're going through, that in itself is such a big thing. Because, like I said, nobody has any time for anybody. So it speaks, for your, how should I say, level of empathy, sympathy, understanding of human beings. So that is something that I think we all need to learn from you and maybe help wherever we
I
can.
hope
So tell me, coming to this, where we're talking about guiding and motivating others, so why lifestyle and motivational coaching specifically? And now this is a woman-centric podcast, so we do have to have questions about women. So tell me, what gaps do you see, especially for women, that you feel need to be addressed?
so. So to answer your first part question first, why lifestyle and motivational, is that's what I know.
Okay.
I've been in this environment. I've only been uh, creating relationships and being with people, whether it's family or friends, or so that's what I understand. That's what I know. So it's easiest for me to get into that space. Um, that's the reason. And the second part of the question being why. Uh, what did you say?
What gaps do you see for women?
What gaps do I see for women? Actually, women are. I think they're doing good. I'm inspired by the women out there. So I don't know what the gaps. I think that I'm going to learn by and by.
Okay.
if there are and what they are and how to tackle them. But I think I have a whole ecosystem of women around me who's going to help me figure that one out. So
Absolutely.
that I can't answer that one right now. So,
Okay. Okay. So tell me, you were, like I said, a homemaker for a very large part of your life, and then you chose to get into coaching. Now, my
right.
question is, how do your years as a homemaker, caregiver, and supporter uniquely inform or influence the way you coach and mentor today?
Hmm. I think just being with the wide variety of people, understanding them, accepting them. I think that is the biggest thing. You uh, somehow I just believe that if you have a hand, you have five fingers, they're all different. And that's the way the world is. Everybody is different. So the very first foundation is to accept each person as they are.
Yeah,
If everybody had to be the same, this world would be a very, very boring place to live in.
right. I
So
agree.
I think that is what I carry with me as a first step. So once you hear out somebody, uh, you know, accept what they have got to the table, and accept them as they are, the next step just opens up from there, because then you can work with them alongside in what they want to create further.
Right.
And you both your minds can work together. If you work with a very closed mindset and you think that everybody's not going to be this is right and that is wrong, there's no step to them. So I think that is what I take to this profession.
But you're right. The first and foremost requirement, I think, not only in this as a coach or as a guide, but even otherwise as a human being, you have to
Mhm.
have an open mind. Because if you
Absolutely.
are closed, you're not open to another point of view, another way of doing things, then you really can't be of help to anybody and even to you. Because I think, like
Absolutely.
you said, the world is interesting because you have so
Mhm.
many different kinds of people.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
this is what you have to do. And of course, when you get into the space of coaching, then you have to accept people. That's how they will come to you and share with you and open up with you. Yeah,
Right.
that's okay. So tell me, when you look back now to a time when you were in college and you were looking at life in a certain way and looking at success, a successful life in a certain way. So, has your definition of success changed from what it was in your 20s or 30s to what it is now? Like, what does success look like to you today?
Hmm. Um, so as a youngster, I think success is always about what you can have, how much you can earn, where
Yeah.
you stand, independence, all of that. While that is socially very, very true,
Mm-hmm.
uh, to my mind, just peace is the biggest success for oneself more than anything else. So
Right.
just finding that satisfaction within oneself, being happy with yourself, and whatever you do, being satisfied that whatever you're doing is fine. That's success to me. I mean, external success is fine, it's great, somebody else is giving you that approval or not, but unless you give it to yourself, it doesn't really work.
Absolutely. That's such a, how
Simpler.
should I say, a mature way of looking at it. Because material things are going to be there today, maybe not tomorrow. But these things like peace of mind, accepting everybody for who they are, I mean, these are things which will hold you in good stead, will keep you happy in life. And this is obviously, this comes with time. You cannot expect youngsters to believe in this because they haven't seen life. But this
And
is
they better not, because they might be very, and they might not then go to achieve what they need to.
true,
So
true,
it's
true.
fine.
So, yes.
At any
So,
time, there is something else.
so with
I
time,
guess.
things change, and so does your definition of anything for that matter, even if it is success. Okay. Now, you took this bold step after a long gap. And as I mentioned before, there are so many women out there, men also maybe, who want to do things differently, who want to do different things, but something holds them back. But for women particularly, who feel a calling but are afraid to begin again, to start again because of their age, family expectations, fear, whatever, what would you tell them? What would you say to them?
So that word is just what was in my head.
Hmm.
That what you have to uh, sort of tide over is your own fear,
Yeah.
because that is what stops you from doing anything at all. Why would you not want to take a step ahead? Because you'll say, oh, I've created this for myself. If I do something differently, I'll lose this. So the older you get, the more you're sort of actually holding on to what you've created, whether it's giving you full peace or not. You'll say, okay, never mind, whatever it is, this is what it is. I've learned to deal with it. Let me keep status quo.
Hmm.
But when you say that it's okay, what's the worst that can possibly happen? That's when you can take a step forward. And every step taken forward is a way to the next step. But if you don't take that first step, not moving ahead at all. So
Correct.
I think that tiding over that first fear is most crucial, hardest to do.
Hmm.
It's the hardest to do,
Right.
but it is the only way.
Yes.
So figuring out how to do that is the catch.
So I think somewhere, I mean, just know that, there is something better for you and take that first step. And at this age, I think at least you have this, that what is the worst that can happen? You will
Mm.
not be able to do something that you wanted to do, but at least you tried. It's better to fail than
Because
to not
there's
have
also
tried. Yeah.
that is also the catch, because you're always telling yourself, if I fail, there are so many people looking at me. What are they going to say? It becomes more critical at this stage than it was as a youngster. So that's a different kind of pressure. This is a different kind of
Hmm.
pressure, but I think it's so internal. This is, I think, totally an internal battle. You
Absolutely.
have to tell yourself that it's not going to bother me, and it's hard. It's not easy.
It's not.
It's hard. Yeah, but I don't know. I think everyone finds their own formulae, and at best you can find somebody with whom you can find what is going to work for you.
Correct.
And that is where you might find your mantra.
And that is where I think things like, role models, other women who can inspire you, who've done this, they all, in the sense they inspire you. They tell you
Yeah,
that,
inspirational stories are very, very important,
yes,
critical. So what you're doing is actually fabulous, because it is making people, like, say, me, I was like doing actually nothing. But even it's just reading, it's hearing people and saying, oh my God, this is possible. It's like that movie, where she makes the laddus.
yes, 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 yes. You're
And when
right.
you see that, it's okay. And then you read about women who at age 70, 70 plus are starting businesses, and you're like, if they can do it, we can do something.
Yes,
So it just helps.
that is, I
Helps to.
think, the key. Okay, Kavita, so while we've come to the end of the conversation, we still have the rapid fire round, which is 5 quick questions, 5 quick answers. Are you ready?
Okay.
So, the first one word to describe the woman you were before returning to academics.
Unsure.
Okay, all right. The next one word to describe the woman you are today.
Ooh, confident.
Okay, wonderful. That's some transformation. The next, one thing your younger self would be shocked to see you doing today. Sorry?
No,
Nothing.
nothing.
All right. Okay.
I
Okay,
think I just lost my way somewhere in between. I'm back on track. I
great.
was as creative and I am. Yeah.
Okay. The next one. If you had a free day with zero responsibilities, how would you spend it?
Ah, with nature, probably reading and enjoying a walk outside, or just being outdoors.
Lovely. And the last one. A comfort ritual you swear by when life feels overwhelming.
Walk.
Walking? Okay. All right. So, Kavita, thank you so much. Like I said earlier, this is going to be hugely inspirational because, like we said, everybody needs a role model. Everybody needs somebody they can look up to before they tread on some path. Somebody who has done it before can be a huge source of inspiration. And what you've done with your life and you're doing with your life, believe me, it's going to help a lot of women out there. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you very much. And I truly hope it does, though I haven't really done much, but whatever, all said and done.
That's
I just
modesty, but I can tell you that it will. Thank you for tuning in to the About Her show. If you enjoyed this episode, there's plenty more from where that came from. Our previous guests have shared some amazing stories, so be sure to catch up on past episodes. To keep up with our inspiring conversations and to never miss an update, hit subscribe, rate, review, and share the love. Follow us on social media for some great content, and don't forget to check out our website www.aboutherbysangeeta.com for stories that resonate, inspire, and empower. Know a remarkable woman or an inspiring man blazing a trail? We'd love to hear from you. Drop us a note at web.abouther@gmail.com and let's bring their story to life on the About Her show.